So we're discussing here the portion called Shmini, Shmini, which translates into the eighth, number eight, but th at the end. And so, what comes in the eighth is, I'd say, the spiritual realm. And so, this is why you would see, for instance, like a lot of the um, events that are taking place after the seventh day of creation is the eighth day of Bria, which is the eighth day of the Brit, right? Like the Brit Milah takes place in the eighth day, which is the day of like the circumcision. For those who studied a little bit the circumcision, so we know circumcision as like the, like the cutting, right? And but there is so much um, wisdom behind the whole idea. I'm not going to do a lesson about circumcision, but the whole idea is to separate or to distinguish. Distinguish is a better word. Distinguish between what represents the 1% physical reality and the 99% reality. We learn, for those that studied Kabbalah, the tree of life, 10 minutes emanation, we learn that each part of the body, and even confined within the face, is the tree of life. And the tree of life also can be found um, within the body. And we can relate to it as we do the Arabe Koach, we do the Tikkun Nefesh, right? Like we scan, our body, do the Reiki thing, and each part of the body corresponds to a sphira, corresponds to a singular energy, and the sexual organ represents Yesod, and Yesod is the sphira, the dimension that is the gate of, or entry gate of the 99%. It is the one that separates us from physicality. So the one that is right above physicality, as we elevate our consciousness, we tap into that first gate that is called Yesod. And so this is why it's interesting that, the circumcision is, the cutting of the foreskin in representation of that extra piece that we are removing to tap into the spiritual realm. There are sort of different things that the person who's doing that, that separates the klipa that is hovering over the human being as he is or she is born. And it's written in the Zohar that the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, takes possession of the baby as soon as the baby is born. So it's not like like the Exorcist movie. We're not talking about like possession. Now you need to do like exorcism or whatnot. It is a spirit. It is a consciousness that is very um, that we're becoming very accustomed to as we grow up, and until the age of 13 for boys and 12 for girls, it is the energy, the consciousness that we're the most accustomed to. And so this is why when the Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, is introduced into the body, it creates a conflict of almost not recognizing. And so this is why, we call it like the teenage years. Teenage years really starts around this time, and when there is like a lot of like self-discovery, a lot of doubts, uncertainty, a lot of self-bidding, a lot of like they're looking for themselves, and a lot of it is the conflict that is arising between the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara, the good and the bad inclination, in this crisis of identity. And I mean, we can retrieve that consciousness in almost anything that we put our finger on, and it's not just like in the mind of an individual, but it is in the mind consciousness of a state, of a nation, of a culture, and you can find that conflict within family, between siblings, between spouses, and between um, um, the same religion. Um, the idea that separates, that makes us different and therefore better. And we can find that like in also like again like we can see it in every angle possible. We can see it in Judaism, and in Judaism you have um, like the Sfaradi and you have the Ashkenaz, and like the Jews from Eastern Europe and the Jews from Northern Africa. Like those are like typically like from Spain that are called the Sfaradi. Sfaradi comes from the word Sfarad, which is Spain. So really, like all the Jews that emigrated to North Africa, they are really coming from Spain. So you have the Sfaradim and you have the Ashkenaz. So already there you have like a clear separation. And if you go to Israel, still today you have like a lot of the Ashkenaz that would call the Sepharad, the ones that are coming from Spain or from Northern Africa, that are a little bit more colored. They would call them literally. They would call them monkeys. I was in a discussion where one Ashkenaz who wasn't very bright, would call the Yemenite Jews as such as what I just mentioned. I mean, in front of us. I mean, the guy didn't have like any shame into talking like this, but it's not him talking. I mean, it was him, but it was really that consciousness that separates and that says what I believe in is better than yours, and what I am is better than you, or my opinion is has more value than your opinion. And if you think about it, this is like at the seed of every conflict, and it's not just a conflict between two individuals, it is a conflict between nations, religions, and cultures. It is from the moment that there is like a speck of separation. What differentiation or separation is the same thing. Whatever separates us, if we are attempting with our mind, with our consciousness, with our emotions, like to try to compare, the moment that the mind compares, you know that there is one force that is at stake, that is ruling, that is dominant, is that it's the Yetzer Hara, it's the evil inclination. Evil inclination does not make us evil, it's just a name. It is just a force that exists in the universe, and that has one objective, is to make sure that we are not unified. We're not even unified with ourselves, right? So if we have like low self-esteem and it's hard for us to appreciate ourselves and to look ourselves in the mirror and to just appreciate what we see and to be grateful for all the gifts that the creator has given us, the separation starts even within us. Like forget about creating all these separations and projecting it basically on others. The separation starts from within me, between the body consciousness and my own soul. There is already that separation right there. Now, the ultimate, after the Gemara Tikkun, the end of correction, is that the body consciousness and the soul consciousness will be unified with no separation, where the body consciousness is coming to serve the soul, to just to be a conduit, to just have the soul achieve what it came to accomplish on earth. So when we come to discuss this portion, the portion of Shmini, it is mainly to raise our consciousness beyond anything that has to do with the 7 days of the week, which is basically like the all the levels of Malchut, the levels of the 1%. Got the idea? Like the whole introduction? Yes? Great. Rabbi Yitzchak Patach, and so there is a discussion between Rabbi Shimon and his students. ברן יחד כוכבי בקר ויראו כל בני אלוקי, אשריהם ישראל שקודשה בריחו, נתן להם התורה הקדושה שהיא שמחת הכל. שמחת הקדוש ברוך הוא מקום טיול שלו, שכתוב ויהיה שעשועים יום יום, וכל התורה היא שם אחר קדוש של הקודשה בריחו, והתורה נברא עולם, שכתוב ויהיה אצלו המון, אלא תקרא המון אלא אומן, שהייתה כלי אומנות שלו לבריאת העולם. Okay. Just wanted to read it from the original text from the Rabbi Shlag, Now we can go into the translation and interpretation of those few words. And so it came to pass on the eighth day. Rabbi Yitzchak opened the discussion saying, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of Elohim shouted the joy. Blessed are Israel, because the Holy One, blessed be He, has given them the Holy Torah, the joy of all, the joy of the Holy One, blessed be He, and the place where He walks. So the Torah is, again, everything that exists in the physical is a projection of the spiritual. And when we talk about the Torah, we talk about Zir Anpin. And so this is why, like, for instance, like we do this almost robotically, and most of the people that do it, they do it robotically. And if you ask them, why do you do it? They'll tell you, I don't know, that's what everybody does. And so you'll see that, for instance, you know, Jews go up to the Torah and they kiss the Torah, and they have no clue why they're kissing the Torah. And so the Kabbalists are teaching us that the Torah is a tool, it's a technology to help us connect and elevate our consciousness to the level of Yesod, that is Zir and Pin. Why do we kiss the Torah? Because the mouth represents Malchut. It represents the level that is beneath Yesod. And so what we do by kissing the Torah, we are consciously drawing that energy of perfection, energy of joy, energy of fulfillment down into our life. We don't want to just like a kiss. That would be like, it's like, you know, like my daughter is like spelling things out when she doesn't want to say it. So stupid, right? Like it's like, you know, like to do things without understanding why we do them is kind of like we lose the point. And so the reason why we should, if we do, kiss the Torah is because we want to download that energy down into our lives. So the Torah um, by itself would be a, um, a tool on its potential. And so if we're not using the Torah uh, and and for the sake of the purpose, why is the Torah there? The Torah is to allow us to download energy into our life. So it can be present there, and we can be sitting, you know, listening to the lecture or to the reading of the Torah. But if we don't activate its purpose with a consciousness, I'm listening because I'm downloading energy right now. So it's not for the sake of understanding, because I listen to the Torah, I know, like, maybe it's going to make you feel better or not, but I don't understand a word of what is being written. It's like mostly like ancient language, and it's not like the current Hebrew that is being spoken today. Like an Israeli, I'm not like a, you know, like I left Israel when I was 10, so my Hebrew is very low level, low grade, I would say. But like to listen to the Torah, it's not for the language, it's not for the story, it is for the energy. It is for the energy. It is a tool that has been made available for over 3,400 years. And when it was revealed on Mount Sinai, it was revealed to 70 nations. All the 70 nations that represented humanity were exposed, received that tool, not as to create a religion, but to give them like sort of like a technology of the soul to elevate and to rid ourselves of the evil inclination, and to empower the soul so that the soul can achieve and accomplish what it came to do in this world. And so, blessed are Israel, because the Holy One, blessed be He, has given them the Holy Torah, the joy of all, the joy of the Holy One, blessed be He, and the place where He walks. So, God, although we can go into a different discussion later on, but God, in its great, positive, um, optimistic, forgiving, charitable features, um, is not exactly represented or um, alive in the physical reality. It is very difficult for the layman to be in the physical reality and to see God, to recognize God on the level of Malchut. When we live on the level of Malchut and go through whatever challenges it is that you go through, or you watch the news, or you see what's going on with anything that's in the news today, uh, it's very hard to see, to recognize, to give sort of like a reason or justification. This is God. This is the will of God. It's very difficult. And so we have spoken about this like a few weeks ago, where um, the perception of God in the physical reality, it is God, but from an aspect of what we call Elohim, or the Adni, Adonai. So when it is said, when it is spoken in the Torah about those words, Elohim and Adonai, it is the revelation of God, but with a filter. And so that filter that comes to us, that is revealed to us through events and encounters, and those are difficult moments that we encounter, that we face, and they're challenging, and we can go through a time, a day, a week, a month, or a year, where we go through a rough time, and it's hard for us during this time to see the light, or to recognize God, or to see that it's good for us, even though at times, either before or after that, we realize, oh my gosh, that was like, it was tough, but thanks God that it happened, because it led me to where I am. So we become spiritual about a past challenge, about a past negative um, occurrence, um, but not in the meantime. In the meantime, when we go through the challenge, it's hard to say, oh, I believe that everything happens for a reason. When we suffer, we don't talk like that. When we suffer, or when we are in pain, or when we struggle for ourselves, or even for somebody else, it's hard for us to see God and to say, you know what, God is in the business. And so that is the expression of God in the shape, or in the form of Elohim. Why? Because in the way that we have, um, let's just say, put ourselves out there, um, whatever energy we put out there, just with a boomerang effect, brought us back and experience what we needed to experience in that moment. That is also the expression of God with mercy. So, whatever, imagine that you could have done something that is called, let's say, X, and whatever is coming back as an equal is going to come back to you with mercy. So, in other words, if you hurt somebody because you were short, because you were impatient, you were busy with something else, or you disagreed and you wanted to make a point, in that moment, you could have been harsh, you could have been short, you could have been like not what the other person expected of you. And so, rarely are we judged by the universe on the action that we just took, that hurt somebody's feelings, or that maybe hurt even ourselves, a dear one, or even somebody that we don't even care about, or that we don't even know that person. So the way that the universe works is that boomerang effect, as it comes back, it never comes back as an equal. It is going to come back with a sense, with a spirit of mercy, to give me an opportunity to redeem. But it's not going to tell me, hey, Yuda, remember 6 months ago you did such and such? So here I'm reminding you what you did, and I'm giving you now an opportunity to cleanse what was done, because I'm love, and I'm mercy, and I'm forgiving God. So I'm going to give you that opportunity, but I'm going to explain to you ahead of time what this is happening. Obviously, that would be like the optimal, that would be the best, but rarely does it happen in this way. So when the boomerang effect is hitting us, it is hitting us in a surprise. And it is hitting us in a way that we do not recognize what's happening. And so we react. We react to the person, to the situation, and in that moment we are reactive, we're upset, and we say things that we regret. But really, those are the moments that God, the universe, is giving us an opportunity to be forgiven for what was done 6 months ago. So what is happening to you right now is something that is somewhat similar, if not equal, to what you have done in the past. And the universe will forgive you for what you've done if you recognize what's going on right now and you're not going to jump and be reactive. Instead, you're going to recognize that this is an opportunity and you're going to be patient, ask the light for forgiveness, pause in the moment, do not react, try to understand maybe the person is going through a tough time. I mean, this is so far-fetched for a lot of us because when things happen, we just react most of the time. We don't stop and think, okay, maybe this is an opportunity. So to elevate to that consciousness, to that level of Zeir and Pin, is ultimately where we are all headed. We are all headed that once we mature spiritually, we become more alert, we become more aware, we become more understanding that everything that happens, not just when everything is great, but especially when things are becoming challenging, they happen for a reason. And this is an opportunity for me. As we elevate to that level, to that eighth level that represents Zeir and Pin, this is a place of joy. This is a place of love. This is a place of mercy. If I'm reacting and I'm upset or whatnot, or I'm hurt, I'm not connecting at all, even though that's a given an opportunity as a gift. But I'm missing that opportunity by getting reactive. But the choice is still given to me, and it is given to me 100 times a day. How many times do I recognize that I just missed an opportunity? Maybe once or twice, to be honest, because I got reactive once or twice today, and I could have done better with this one. But we need to know that we are losing it without even recognizing it at least 100 times a day. Why? Because we're on autopilot. The robotic consciousness has gotten us so robotically accustomed to the body consciousness that we just most of the time on a reactive mode. So, I mean, the body consciousness will fight that and would say, no, that's not true. That's impossible. Why? Because the body consciousness needs to feel that it is in control. The more we elevate our consciousness and the more we say, I don't want any control, because the more I know that I'm in control, the less I'm in control. Because the more I'm letting go of the control and the more I'm letting my soul or I'm letting God to be in control. How many times did something like, like knock on the door and like really upset me? And did I say, you know what, I'm not going to get reactive. God, what is your will? What do you want me to accomplish right now? What is the lesson for me? What did I come to learn with this challenge? So that person that is challenging me right now is playing a great role with, whatever it is that they're doing. But at the same time, what is the lesson for me? Because if I'm going to miss that lesson, it's not going to be just him or her. It's going to be another person and another person and another situation and another situation. I could put an end to that. I mentioned earlier, we could have like a rough week or a rough month or a rough semester. We can have like a rough 10 years. Do we have the power? Do we have the control to make it shorter or to make it longer? If we are struggling with a situation, can I, like squeeze it in time? And the answer is yes. The answer is the quicker I learn the lesson and the quicker it's gone. The quicker it's going to be gone. Whatever, if the challenge is a person, if the challenge is a situation, if the challenge is health or monetary or a neighbor or whatnot, the quicker I learn the lesson and the quicker I elevate my consciousness to the place of love and joy and happiness and forgiveness in everything, in every aspect. There are some people like this that I know that are happy no matter what. And when there are every reason to be upset or to be annoyed or to feel aggravated, the person that's going to aggravate you the most is the person that is happy no matter what. What is there to be happy about? Did you see what just happened? And the person still finds every way to be to be happy or to be joyful. So again, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination would say, "Oh, that's me most of the time." And denial is one of our biggest opponents. Is that we do not recognize 98% of the times that we're being challenged and that we fail those opportunities to raise our consciousness. There are, according to the Zohar, every single day, 100 blessings for us to recognize and to convert into light. Every day. But they're not given to us as a blessing. Don't we say every blessing comes in disguise? Every blessing comes in disguise. In disguise of what? In disguise of a challenge. When we recognize the challenge as an opportunity and we overcome it, we do not get upset, we do not get reactive. We recognize that there is a spark, an aspect of God in this opportunity that is to elevate my 100 a day. So, and I'm not talking about recognizing God and the good in everything. God has given me Trader Joe's a sparkling water with a lemon taste. Great. Is there God in it? Of course, but this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those 100 concealed blessings in challenges. Many of us, maybe we're not going to recognize those 100, and we're not even like going to chase after those opportunities, those 100 challenges to convert. Why? Because we're seeking to be comfortable, quiet, in peace. We don't like confrontation. We don't like to rock the boat. Used to be like this story that the Rav used to tell us of this guy that passed away, and he gets to the upper world, and he gets to the gate of choosing if he's going to go to hell or if he's going to go to heaven, and they're sending him to hell, and he doesn't understand. Why are you sending me to hell? I did all the good deeds, and I was good to everybody, and I was friend with everybody, and everybody was my friend, and everybody liked me. Why are you sending me to hell? Because you had all these opportunities to transform, to confront, to speak your mind, either for yourself or for somebody else, and you didn't. You wanted to be the pleaser. So I'm not pointing the finger at anybody that is a pleaser. A lot of us have this issue to seek recognition and approval. It's a difficult challenge for a lot of us. But imagine how many times did I speak and I shouldn't have, and how many times was I quiet and I should have said something. It's like such a almost like a random question, but we could ask ourselves. There are a lot of times that, in order not to get into a headache, I didn't say anything. In order not to get into a conflict and into a confrontation, I just, and we cover it up with all sorts of slogans and sayings such as, you need to pick your fight, right? You need to pick your fights. And there are people that are really not good at picking any fight, so they don't fight ever. They prefer to be smashed on and stepped on, rather than confronting somebody that is like stepping on them and saying, please, you're hurting my feelings when you speak in this way, when you act in this way, and I'd like you to stop. but at the cost of getting the person to get upset and angry and shut you down and give you the cold shoulder or not to be your friend anymore. How many times did we settle for less and let another person step on us? You see, we could go on like this for another couple hours to discuss all sorts of examples where I missed some of those blessings in disguise. Something that wasn't easy for me and I didn't do it, something that was difficult and I didn't go for it, something I should have restricted and I didn't, and something that I should have let go or forgive or be more compassionate, be more patient, and I wasn't. I mean, we're saying like 100 opportunities a day. Sometimes it's even more than that. Especially if you work in an environment that you have like that you're dealing with a lot of people. And if you're isolated, then that's also some sort of a choice, right? Because God is revealed not just when you're by yourself. I mean, when you're by yourself, you can meditate and pray, and that's great. But the greatest opportunities is between people. This is how and why we were sent to sort of, like be each other's roommates almost. As a citizen, in the same house, in the same neighborhood, in the same group, in the same class, in the same environment, whatnot. You do not interact with a certain individual by coincidence. And if that person becomes difficult, well, the easiest thing to do is to break it up and not to see, not even break it up, just stop seeing this person. There was this person, my wife was telling me, like she's on Clubhouse, like, like in all sorts of like parenting groups. And there is this woman that was like divorced for 5 times. Nothing wrong, but she was like justifying it as, like an empowerment thing. And I'm sure that there is some aspects, some lessons that we can take from there, but what about the level of responsibility when you keep failing at something? Maybe you need to stop and say, okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong. If I keep repeating the same mistake over and over, either with myself or with somebody else, maybe there is something that I'm doing that is not exactly right, because otherwise it would work out. It would be a win-win. When the light is involved, there is win-win. When the light is not involved, either you have one person that wins and another person that loses, or you have both of them that lose. When the light is involved, when you're elevating your consciousness, just everything feels right. Everything feels right, and the outcome is a win-win for everybody. And the best is when, against all odds, it seemed like everything, like hell is gonna break loose, and the accomplishment, the outcome, this person wins, and how did that happen? Where did that come from? Especially when it doesn't make sense and you went against your nature and you did something you didn't want to do, you didn't feel comfortable to do. There are a lot of times that I'm doing certain things that I don't want, and it turns out, wow, like I'm really happy that I did it. Unfortunately, it happens after the fact that we realize, what if we have in the trigger, when we have like the body that is resisting, oh, here is the trigger, the body is against it, there has to be something good. Or the body is like really about like to get enraged or upset or judgmental or aggravated. You get like so many opportunities today, especially if you are into into politics or into all the, like, so much opportunity to open the news and restrict. If you're Republican, just watch CNN and bless everybody that you're listening to. If you're a Democrat, watch Fox and think, wow, that was great. I loved what this person, wow, that was awesome. So obviously, like it's far-fetched, right? But you understand what I'm talking about, yes? We're talking here about breaking, breaking this pattern where the evil inclination wants to put you in a box, and that's where you fit. Because you don't fit, talking to somebody who is against your opinion. And you're going to seek to be around people that are thinking like you or feeling like you. And it's not just like with somebody that is like thinking the same, like in politics. It can also be about somebody that, like you don't like somebody, and suddenly you're going to start talking to somebody that doesn't like the same somebody. And you have like the same thing to say about the same somebody that both of you don't like. Well, so finally, you found to be in unity with somebody against somebody. Wow, we feel like such a bond. I feel in such a bond with this other person. We talk the same language and we understand each other in hatred. So we don't talk about it, like we don't say hatred, but think about it, like when you are spending time and energy to talk, to criticize, to judge, or you don't see it even as a judgment, you see it as, this person is A, B, and C, and those are not nice words to describe. Hi, baby. Do you want to say hi? Come, you want to say hi? Say hi. Hi. Say hi. Say hi, everybody. You don't want to say hi? Do you have chocolate over your face?
Hi.
Blow a kiss. Good. Okay, say bye. See you later. Bye.
Hi. Oh,
Bye.
so cute.
You went outside? It was good. So, anyway, let me continue reading. The whole Torah is one holy name of the Holy One, blessed be He. By the Torah was the world created. As it is written, then I was by him as a nursling, Amun. Do not pronounce it as Amun, but as Uman, which is literally an artificer. For it was his instrument of art for the creation of the world. And so this is how the creator sees each one of us. He sees each one of us as a oman. Oman, which is more than a creator, it is an artist. Each one of us is an artist of our own life and of our own destiny. We can shape how our day is going to be, how our tomorrow is going to become. I mean, today, like in all the new age, we talk about like the laws of attraction and consciousness is everything, and your reality becomes what you think, etc., etc. But this is what the Zohar was speaking of thousands of years ago. Each one of us has the power to become an artist of his own, of her own life. But just thinking, and obviously, when we are, and as we elevate our consciousness, that is how we become this Oman, this artist, this creator. We have zero capacity to create when we are reactive. When we are at the mercy of the body consciousness, what is the body consciousness? The body consciousness is judging, fear, guilt, worry, not being able to forgive, holding on to grudge. This is the what we call in the Zohar calls the body, the consciousness, the juice of that energy, bitterness. The body is bitter, and the body is going to seek what separates us from the soul. Because as long as there is that speck of separation, the body consciousness controls. The moment that we elevate, and the more we elevate, the more we see the good and the love and the happiness and the joy into everything, the body loses grip over our soul and the soul becomes free. And it is when we are free that it becomes easier and lighter. We become lighter. We become lighter with our movie, with our destiny, with the narrative of our life. It is up to each one of us to choose what is going to be the narrative of my life today. And so, all sorts of exercises, yes. And again, like the New Age philosophies have great advice for us, like affirmation and all the, the positive things that you can, yes, baby, all the positive things that we can tell about ourselves or about our environment and the world. Every single day is a new page that we open to ourselves, for ourselves, to recreate each time as an artist how we wish this day, this week, this year, this lifetime to be for us. And so there is also, as a verb, you know, to narrate or to have a narrative about an individual, when somebody has like a negative perspective about somebody, like their narrative about this person is just going to be bad. And so when you have like this one person that has a negative narrative about an individual, likely is going to draw the people that think alike. And then you have like a group of people that have a bad or negative narrative about this individual until this individual feels so uncomfortable that they leave that environment. But that narrative applies to every aspect of our life, but it starts with us. It starts with us. What kind of a narrative do I have of myself? Did I create for myself to draw into my reality an opposition? An opposition that can be an individual, or it can be a group of people, or it can be a challenge, or it can be a bad health, can be a negative financial situation. It is part of a narrative of how we're going to dictate, how we're going to become the designer of our perspective, of our consciousness, of our reality. So we can become on a daily basis a better designer, a better creator, a better artist as we embrace more the features of our soul and we embrace less the features of the body consciousness. And as such, we're connecting to that consciousness of Shmini, the eighth level, that is elevating us beyond anything that is physical, that is limiting. The eighth also represents Binah, right? And Binah connects us to the energy of Shabbat and the seventh day, etc., etc. This is where Binah originates all the souls that come into this place. And so it is really the anchor, it is really the source of all fulfillment, of all joy that is open to all of us. All the gates are open to us as we elevate our consciousness, as we are not trapped into the body consciousness that is seeking separation, comparison, differentiation. Use those words in your advantage, because this far the mind is to compare, is to differentiate between people and races and financial status or political party. I mean, this is the discussion du jour, right? I'm connected to this, yeah, but I'm connected to that. And we can have some similarities. We could both be of the same political group. Or by the way, I agree with this and with this, but I don't agree with that. We will always find something to disagree on. Why? Because not that it is your nature, it is not your nature. Your nature is your soul, but it is the nature of your body that is seeking differentiation, that is seeking separation. The more we become aware and we are able to grasp and recognize those little gates that are open for us as 100 opportunities a day that we are given to elevate our consciousness and connect to that sphera, to that sphere of Shmini. Okay. Any questions or comment or anything to share? Great. Well, thank you very much for joining. You're such a great group of students that understand everything that I say and have no question. I love it.
I'll ask, well, it's something that I was thinking about when you were talking about all of these opportunities. And then you did talk about restriction. And there are so many moments when I'm not sure what the thing to do is, to say something or to not say something. You know, those opportunities we have, you have to be like you to know to know. It's a dance to know really sometimes if it's the right thing to do or not do. And sometimes I feel like I just am not sure. So I could do the right thing or I could make a mistake.
You know, it is in my essence and in my nature to rock the boat. I love rocking the boat. It is in my nature. For me to lay low is against my nature. And for me to do that, I know that even though things might go a little bit slower than I'd like them to go, that's, one of the challenges to come and to be born as a Gemini. You want everything to have happened already yesterday. So this is where you can already like start, you exercise to practice doing things that are against your nature. If it is
Okay.
your nature to, to not confront, I'm not saying now you're going to become me, right? But you're going to do like maybe like a little step, like a tiny step that the other person is not going to like, yeah, they're going to be a little bit surprised because if your nature is like to never say anything and suddenly you're going to say like a tiny bit of something, like the person is going, what? Like they like it's gonna even sound like maybe they didn't hear you right? And so that's like a kind of an example. Like me and my wife were real opposites. Like I'm like like the outspoken and the one that says everything that I what you see is what you get, and she's more quiet, right? And she's more of a pleaser, and she's working on it, and she knows that part of her work is to speak up her mind. She's doing so much better at speaking up her mind, and today, like with what she's doing with her life, is she would have probably never been able to do that like 3 years ago, right? And so you wouldn't be able to accomplish even close to what your potential is if you remain comfortable with who you are. But then you could still remain who you are and use it as an excuse. What do you want? This is who I am, right? So if you have like somebody who is like very tempered and is always getting upset and angry and aggravated and speaking things, and like the person has built a reputation. Oh, it's okay. It's just this person. Don't give it energy. Whatever. It's just another time, another round. You don't want to be that. You want to actually be the person that has changed like 1,000 times fold, 1,000 times. Not like, like, wow, you changed so much. Like it seems like the last 10 years that I've seen you. One of the goal of a Kabbalist is every day is a day that you wouldn't recognize who you were yesterday, because you changed so much for the better. And because there are so many layers that we have come with to transform and to improve and to elevate. And each of those layers is a blessing in disguise.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, guys. Thank you for joining. And
Thank you.
I'll see you again on Monday.
Thank you.
Great class. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Yehuda.
Of course.
Bye.
Thank you.